Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. We are going to be bringing you guys this game between Virtus.Pro and Alliance. It's going to be an interesting game here, seeing these two teams going at it and seeing exactly what they bring to the table here. But yeah, kind of back and forth. These teams have been having a couple matches throughout the week that have been very, very intense, and I expect to see a lot coming out of these guys here. One thing is that it is a best of one, so that is going to be a little bit down to really who jumps the gun on their different strategies and who can start off strong with some interesting drafting and counter drafting. So we do see the Treant ban coming out against Virtus.Pro, and that's an interesting thing that's kind of evolved as the patch meta has kind of gone on through, but interestingly enough. Anyways, to start things off, I, myself, and Blaze got a few technical issues, but should be relatively resolved now. And yeah, now going on forward. Thank you guys so much for tuning on in. I'd like to introduce you guys to the cast. My co-caster, Triumph Man, what's going on?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty good. Alliance banning Tree, no real surprise. Loader hates Tree. Although that said, it seems a lot of teams have cottoned onto the fact that you can let Tree through even with stuff like OD. The trick is just to take an offensive tri-lane against it because Tree offers so little in that tri-lane if he's under pressure. So he really can't help out the team a lot if he's under pressure and always has to try and protect that tri-lane. But that said, Alliance just banned it anyway because, of course, he's still irritating to play against. And if you don't want to actually bring an offensive tri-lane against it, then, well, it's going to obviously still cause some issues. But Virtus.Pro, though, banning the Lone Druid, no surprise against Bulldog. The question is what other heroes that belong, because this seems to be a bit of a trend against Alliance that the majority of the heroes that get banned early on belong to Bulldog. It's going to be Lone Druid, Bounty Hunter, Darkseer, Nature's Prophet, all those heroes like that. Teams tend to ban that out straight away.
Precisely. So now, yeah, he doesn't have as many great offlane options. They're probably going to focus, as they normally do, on their tri-lane early on in their drafting. But later on, you're going to be looking at things like Clockwork. Actually, just going to go ahead and pick up the Nature's Prophet and Batrider. So they're going to go for their solo heroes. They're going to jump on in. They're going to say, okay, well, we want mobility, we want presence, we want pick-off potential. The expected IO maybe would be picked up pretty early on by Alliance, but as long as they can put pressure out on top of that, that shouldn't be too much trouble at all.
I like the iron pick. I mean, Virtus.Pro have grabbed up Nature's Prophet. Like we said, that this does limit the heroes that Bulldog tends to play with. But the thing is, Nature's Prophet, he wants to split push. He wants to be mobile. He wants to cause trouble over the map. IO is pretty much a direct counter to that. It completely nullifies his ability to split push because whatever hero you pick to go with IO, Nature's Prophet trying to push alone, it's just free food for you. Every time he tries to push alone, you just port in there, gank him, destroy him. He's so squishy, so easy to kill. So you bring anybody with a stun and he's going to get blown apart really quickly. So it's going to make him a lot less useful. If they want to split push, they're going to have to wait for Ira to commit and commit to a team fight, and then you've got to either sacrifice that vote, you've got to disengage successfully without getting a whole bunch of people killed, and then send Nature's Prophet go and split push after that, which is a lot less effective than just having him always pressuring lots of different lanes all at the same time. He'll still have this global push with Nature's Wrath, but it's not as effective, and it's not exactly are going to allow him to reach his full potential. They're going to have to they're either going to have to disengage from fights, or they're going to have to outright crush those fights and then rapidly push multiple lanes before he gets back up and running. But Clockwork picked up by Alliance, and I think what we're still waiting for is to see whether or not Virtus.Pro decide to ban out a few combo heroes with the IO, or if they're just going to let them go through. Because, I mean, you can't ban them all. There's just so many heroes that work extremely well with him.
Yeah, it's a lot of heroes to take off the board. So right now they're just trying to make sure that the tri-lane for Alliance isn't as strong. Taking out the Keeper of Life and stuff early is going to be pretty important to that. I want to mention real quick that we are running a dedicated Statman this time around for the Premier League, this cup, specifically the Mjolnir one. So also would like to thank Music for helping us out with that and jumping on to provide us some cool information as the games go along.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the bans here. Alliance, okay, this one, the Naga Siren ban, no real surprise, a bit of a respect ban against Virtus.Pro. Naga Siren, even though teams, they know how to deal with her, she's still aggravating to play against. And actually, recently, I saw Alliance get absolutely smashed by Naga Siren with a song setup. So I think it was actually against Virtus.Pro, but that's no real surprise because Virtus.Pro, they really like their Naga Siren, particularly as a carry. There's a couple of teams who've been picking her more frequently. Quantic, I'm pretty sure it's Quantic. Godlike likes to draft her as a support. She actually works really well as a support, but Virtus.Pro particularly, they like her as a hard carry, so they like to get her farmed up. And she's a hero that is she's strong. She really brings a lot to the table because she's got the net. The net is one of the best things in the game because it goes right through Magic Community. So if you've got something like a Nakes, it's so frustrating. You rage up and then you just get netted and you can't get on point. You can't get to your target. Nakes also being banned by Alliance. So it's interesting because it's one of Loader's most played heroes at this point in time. Weaver, though, picked up by Virtus.Pro. They've also banned the Enchantress. I'm wondering if they'll knock off Chen next. Now, I just want to say something about IO quickly. is I saw him run as a solo mid. Actually works pretty well as a solo mid.
Yeah.
Might not run him against something like Queen of Pain, but against some of the easier mids, like not so much easier, but less dominating mids like Clockwork, are a little bit more passive in the lane. He actually works extremely well, and he gets levels and his farm there really well. Whereas if you tend to throw him into a tri lane, even if he's the guy pulling a lot, he tends to not hit his level 6s quickly, and he tends to be a little bit under farm. He doesn't really get the fast earn, mech, those all sorts of tanky items he wants to make sure he doesn't get burst apart in the middle of a fight.
Yeah, the Lifestealer band wouldn't have come on through from Alliance if Virtus.Pro didn't have first pick coming out of the draft, but they knew that they did, and they wanted to deal with that appropriately. But now they're going to be dealing with some pretty heavy core. It might be a little bit greedy by Virtus.Pro, to be honest. They're going to have to jungle the Batrider or the Prophet, no surprise there. But they are going to be running the Weaver and the Outworld Devourer, both of them as relatively core heroes. Of course, Weaver can be found in the off lane, and Outworld Devourer most commonly in the mid lane to shut down and just completely annihilate as far as CS goes. But yeah, when it comes down to it, late game potential is really well in Virtus.Pro's hands with the farming of Furion, with Weaver and Outworld just packing a huge wallop. Now, one thing I really did like about that Naga Siren band you were talking about earlier, not only is she developing really well in the scene, but she would be perfect to draft up against Alliance here. IO relocating in, Clockwork landing a hook, perfect scenarios where Naga Siren's happy to just sing and walk away. And so if you can kind of get that de-initiation and pull Alliance out of their position where they want to be dominant and getting a lot of kills, then you're going to be feeling very, very confident. Now, this last Kunkka pick is pretty interesting. They're probably going to be running the off-lane Clockwork as a result of this. Bulldog pretty well within his forte there. So they'll have a tri-lane with EGM on the Wisp, Ake on the Visage. They'll have Admiral Bulldog going on the off-lane Clockwork, and then we'll have to see where this Kunkka plays out. We could see a load of Kunkka carrying up, or S4 running in the mid lane. I expect it just to be on the mid. That's kind of what it's been trending towards, but there's all those options out there.
I would say it's definitely going to be mid. It's going to be an S4 mid, particularly because it's come right after the Outworld Devourer pick. And Kunk is a hero who can take Outworld Devourer without getting completely destroyed. He can still CS effectively with Tidebringer, and he doesn't suffer. He's not like a Queen of Pain. If you get hit by multiple Astral Imprisonments, you're screwed. You can't farm, you can't nuke, you can't do anything. Whereas he's always going to have that cleave to harass and push Devourer back. Yeah, I mean, one of the other really good choices, obviously, is something like Lone Druid, but that's been banned out. But yeah, because he was picked right after the Outworld Devourer. I mean, that Clockwork very well could have been initially drafted for S4, but now they've seen the Outworld Devourer come out, they said, all right, we need to change this around. Something that does worry me a bit is Virtus.Pro's lineup. That is greedy as shit. There is no two ways of putting it. You've got a Weaver, you've got Nature's Prophet, you've got Outworld Devourer, all these heroes. Outworld Devourer, obviously, with Sanding's Eclipse, has some teamfight potential, but he can get blown apart pretty quickly if you land a Torrent, a boat, that sort of stuff. And if Alliance have a lot of early pressure, you may see Virtus.Pro's lineup completely fall apart, and they won't have room to get Devourer farm if they lose lots of early towers. And I don't know if they can defend, because Batrider's got to go and get that Blink Dagger before he's super effective. Nature's Prophet needs levels and time and money. He needs a lot of stuff. And Devourer obviously needs a few items before he really starts to hit hard. So that does bother me a lot. And when you've got things that can isolate targets quickly, like IO, Clockwork, I think this could be a bit of a problem for them. Ogre Magi, though, the final pick, I am not 100% sure how I feel about that. What about you, Blaze?
I don't know. It's weird. I was thinking something like a range support would be more appropriate, but they do have 4 ranged heroes already. So getting the Ogre Magi, one thing I do like about it is he has amazing base strength. This Ogre Magi is going to be the sole support. He's the number 4 and 5 as far as responsibility for wards, for vision, for they don't need any detection until Alchemist gets a Shadow Blade or Kunkka does. But in general, he's going to have to be the one to stay on top of things. Arzart, as great of a support player as he may be, is still going to be the one that's shouldering all those responsibilities. KSI is just going to be happy to farm up maybe a Midas, and all those other greedy pickups like the Blink Dagger are going to be coming on through for the Batrider. So nobody really to help him out here. He is very independent in the sense that he doesn't need much as far as like a couple of bracers or magic wands to get him tanky, because he does have such great base strength. But in general, he is going to have his work cut out for him here. He's starting off with mostly just consumables, and they're going to have to move in very early on with some aggressive plays and get some gold on his hands if they're going to be able to maintain map control.
We'll see how that works out. But right now, looks like a 5-man sweep here. Did they bring smoke? No smoke with them at the moment. So they're just going to go for a 5-man sweep. I think they're just... Oh, wait a minute. What is going... Okay, no. Are they actually going for the... I think they're possibly just checking on it, just because you can... With Acid Spray and the Battery Assault, it's something you can try and do the quick Roshan if you wanted to, but I don't think they're actually going for that. I think they're... Looks like they're just going to go and cheat out. Bulldog goes in to have a look. Uh-oh, throws down the cogs. Cuts his way free, though. A little bit blocked in still. Looks like they're going to chuck in the unstable concoction. Arstart now taking a lot of damage. Just the Tether's up there trying to get Bulldog clear. And no casualties just yet. Arstart, though, as well as Bulldog taking a lot of damage. I'm not really sure if either team. I mean, I suppose, really, both teams could have potentially taken that Roshan early on. I mean, you've got Trance, so that can tank for you, but...
Yeah, so one interesting thing is Weaver's
really
positioning. I'm trying to... I guess it was Cogs that knocked him back up on top there. So big thing here is Jotum, their stand-in, is caught out in the trees, and they have to burst down, and multiple Tangos use those up very early on. They will have it in here, the Nature's Call, to break them on through, but that's a lot of mana. The trees will have to make their way all the way over to the jungle. And yeah, a lot committed just to get Weaver back on the low ground. So it was an interesting exchange. We have seen Bat Riders in Tri-Lanes before, so it should be relatively effective until the magic sticks come out at the very least. But yeah, that early engagement, it was all about trying to get Alliance to get out of their comfort zone. It was trying to say, okay, well, we might be doing Roche. We have a small possibility with maybe like Bloodlust and Geminate and stuff like that. So you have to come and check it. But fortunately, they were smart. They staggered their movement out, and they put in the Clockwork first. He was able to get the Cogs out, and he's a pretty tanky little bugger, so he's able to hang on there. Alchemist popping off this Unstable Concoction, though. Going to go on Ogre Magi, and they do have this Soulstone to go on through next, so if they do want to try to follow through, they might have a chance, but IO with no armor is taking so much damage. 3 more right clicks is all it will take, and I think they might get... No. Of course, no Geminate yet. It's going to be Jotum that takes so much damage here, and Arzar is kind of just trying to body block, but here comes that Concoction once more. Going to go out. Will IO fall first for the first blood? It is going to be first blood on IO. Weaver going to be able to pick that up and skirt on away there, but of course they did lose the Ogre Magi.
Well, you know what? It's worth it. They get the first blood there, so definitely a good trade for Virtus.Pro, managing to pick that one up just in time. But I'm really interested to see how this one rolls out, because obviously the Bat Rider, it's going to put a lot of pressure on here with this spam, but at the same time, this is one of these things. I mean, this is an offense trial. They've got to make this work. If it doesn't work, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the rest of their map. With that said, if they keep the attention here, it is going to buy a lot of time. Because, I mean, one of the big problems about Devour, I mean, his biggest fear and his biggest danger is not getting killed in the 1v1. It's when one of those supports rotate to come and gang him. Because, obviously, no matter how good you are, generally speaking, 2v1, 3v1, you're going to get screwed over. So if the supports are constantly stuck and locked down here defending against the offensive Tri-Lane, it's going to give Outward Devour a lot of room to farm quite safely.
Yeah, exactly. He's generally going to be able to control the lane pretty well. S4 probably going to be using his mana early on just while he has the chance, because it's not going to be too long before he's just sitting there, 13 mana boy. But right now, S4 and OD have pretty good opportunities, especially since Kunkka is maxing out his Tidebringer. He will get that crit strike on offensive CSing, and that will give him the opportunity to at least try to match him. And right now he's doing a pretty good job. 2 CS advantage, nullified to 1, but he is going to pick up the double damage rune as well. So does he have a Bracer coming? Sorry, he has a Bracer coming. He doesn't pick up the bottle, so that's pretty interesting as well, just getting some extra raw stats.
Yeah, I mean, he's just trying to make sure he's tanky so he can't get harassed down that heavily, and looks like we'll probably get that fairly... I mean, I expect he'll pick up a bottle eventually, because the thing is, the mana regen from the bottle isn't going to be such a big deal, because if he doesn't have a whole lot of intelligence anyway, it's not really going to matter, so he can just go for the raw stats instead. Down the bottom line, there's a lot of pinging going on. It looks like Loader going to be tethered up there as Wisp decides to jump up. Now, here's the thing with Wisp, if he's spending a lot of time in the lane, like all 3 of these heroes are forced to sit in this lane a lot, it's really going to cut into experience gain. He's still stuck at level 1, and a low-level Wisp who's not 6, obviously can't get her into those relocate ganks, which is really, again, it's just going to buy OD a lot of time. This worries me a lot for Alliance, the fact that they're not going to be able to put a lot of pressure on this OD. Meanwhile, though, Furion up in the top lane, going up against the Clockwork. He's a little bit behind on CS. The Clockwork is getting ahead of him. Bulldog, though, going for the Battery Assault instead. So, I mean, he's got to be very careful. If Bulldog gets in close, Battery Assault is going to tear him apart.
Yeah, between that matchup, Clockwork versus the Furion, it's pretty much like fish in a barrel. You see him, you can scout him out, and Furion can't move all that quickly, and although he might be able to block with his Treants, that's all he's really got up his sleeve. Otherwise, he'll close the distance, and you cannot teleport away from that Battery Assault, at least when it's on one individual hero. So, it'll be an interesting back and forth. Right now, it's just Bulldog doing an amazing job in a melee versus range situation, still overcoming as far as CS, not so much as denies, but that's not the most important thing either. As far as this tri-lane goes, though, down on bottom, Virtus.Pro, I don't think it's starting off how they would prefer it to. I mean, Ogre Magi is great in a tri-lane, Weaver's great in a tri-lane, but they're not really making anything happen here. They've disrupted a pull occasionally, but in general, they aren't getting the kills they're looking for. They've killed IO once, but he is a ticking time bomb, and once he hits level 6, that is going to be a lot of aggressive potential for an Alliance to just start initiating over and over and over again. And so this split of experience between Bat and Weaver is not that great for them, and they need to start doing something about it. They drew First Blood, obviously going to help them out here, but for right now, they have to engage in the appropriate fights, but it's difficult with an Alchemist and a Visage being so punishing if you overextend.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, obviously they want to get kills. I think this is okay for them right now. I think they're getting the better out of this because it really depends. Because I think Kunkka is not going to scale half as hard as this OD is. So if this OD gets ahead, I think it's going to be a much bigger deal. Whereas the Alchemist, I mean, the other thing is they're also pressuring the hell out of Alchemist. He's really not getting. In fact, he's even bought up Dust at this point in time to try and get those early kills on Weaver.
Sure.
So I mean, Alchemist is also not farming very well either. He's in fact behind the Weaver. So they're putting a lot of pressure on. Kunkka is pretty much keeping toe to toe with the Outlaw Devourer, but as I said, doesn't really scale nearly half as hard. And looks back, he's going to run in there again, throw in another Astral Imprisonment. Meanwhile, the bottom lane, Loader taking a lot of harass. Weaver going to dive in there. Think about it twice. I think he might have noticed the fact he's got the dust there. And he's going to stun himself right in the face. So he does manage to pop off the magic stick right before that, just in case he was about to get jumped. But Virtus.Pro decided not to make anything happen from it, so they let it go.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, though, Bulldog up top, I think Bulldog here, to be honest, has the advantage. I don't think he's in too much trouble, mostly because the Trance aren't, like, often when we see the 1v1, Furion is sort of a bit of a sleeper hit when it comes to 1v1s against range heroes because he uses those little trees and he just harasses with them non-stop. But the hook in, misses, just doesn't throw it in the cog, pops the battery assault first. However, the Trance are all here, mitigating the damage for the most part. I think he should be okay, or maybe not actually. The battery assault is starting to land, and in fact, he's going to try and pussy out. There we go, tries to run. Probably should have just doubled down and gone for the attacks because he wasn't going to manage to teleport out there. Eventually, one of those battery assaults was going to hit him. But I mean, I was going to say, because the thing is, those Trance, they're really good at harassing range heroes, but against a melee hero who has a stout shield, a block pretty much nullifies all the damage. Now, bottom lane, it looks like EGM is in some trouble, although Tether's away. Will manage to escape quite nicely.
Yeah.
As the haste rune there comes to nothing.
Yeah, the haste rune is actually really good on Batrider, but of course without his ultimate, it's not going to be changing too much of the situation there. Yeah, that Clockwork matchup, I agree. He should have probably just been kind of man-moding it a little bit. KSI had his ultimate, and if he had been able to draw... Actually, he didn't have Mana Force, so never mind on that. But still, I mean, he was in a situation where he had so many creeps, the battery assault was mostly being nullified. He probably could have just man-moded on that. But in the end, that's Clockwork for you. And now that he has that advantage, it's going to come into a lot more. We do see on the mid lane, Kunkka, it might be dropped down here. The Napalm slowing him down quite a bit, and there is going to be that Flame Break and the Wrath of Nature going across. And S will take some hits, but they do snag the kill, so very good for them. Meanwhile, down on bottom lane, I really just love this movement from the Weaver. In general, he's so mobile with early treads, the Bloodlust, and the Shikuchi, that he can go in and out so frequently, and Loda on his toes frequently is forced to use that Unstable Concoction, and as soon as it's popped, they just completely disappear. Just pop off the invis, go into line of sight, and suddenly it's going to be the Alchemist stunning himself, which obviously is not his intended use of that ability, and always just forcing him back off the lane every time he goes for CS, throwing out of the swarm, just a Shikuchi, anything they need to make sure that they have him pinned down, and that's why he's been mostly going for skills, active skills rather than the Grievel's Greed, because he just can't farm.
Yeah, I mean, there's no point having that Grievel's Greed if you can't actually land those last hits. I would have thought he might be spamming the... I mean, if he wants to zone Weaver back, I figured he might be spamming the Acid Spray a little bit more, just trying to get them to stand back and obviously threatening them a bit more, but as it is, not really going to worry about that too much. And see, the other thing is, Iroh's been missing from the lane a lot. I think they're just focusing on trying to get him to level 6, because they really want to get mobile, so they can try and put some pressure on the other lanes. It looks like in the mid lane again, Torrent doesn't land. Another Astral Imprisonment there on Kunkka, while on the other hand, Bulldog has realized, you know what, we've got to do something about this OD. We can't leave him here because he's going to get ridiculously farmed. He's already got his Buckler, Tranquil, started off with a Null Talisman too, and now Bulldog going to try and put some pressure on him. Has got the Intelligence Treads up. He's going to try and hook in here and land those cogs. I mean, bottom lane though, we'll have a check on what's going on down there. The dust gets popped off. He's got the Unstable Concoction. Now Weaver might be in trouble. Wisp though, going to get knocked out, but Weaver also getting taken out. There we go. That dust finally coming to fruition. Meanwhile, in mid, looks like Bulldog going to charge in here. As it looks like Bulldog going to land the cogs. Barrier assault as well. Illidan though doing a lot of damage. And those creep also nullifying the damage as well. However, they will get the kill regardless. Bottom lane, back to bottom lane now. And it looks like Visage also getting cleaned up down there. Meanwhile, Tether up there on load. Are they going to go for Ogre Magi, who's got no mana? They're also going to swing around, but it looks like Batrider is going to TP out there.
Yeah. The kill on OD in mid was very, very, very important, but all the same, that was just such unfortunate luck for Ake. He was blocked in by his own lane creeps. They walked in to join the party and just walked in right in front of him. Now, Loda taking a lot of hits here. Doesn't have much mobility, so dropping the acid spray. We'll use the magic wand, and it should be enough with IO, tethering in with those rank 2 spirits, dishing out some damage. So they know they can't dive him, but they're just forcing him back over and over. Luckily, Alchemist can take quite a bit of a pounding. With that ultimate active, he has 16 HP regen, so he's in a pretty good state.
Yeah, I mean, that dust paying dividends last fight. I mean, this is why they had the early dust, and just so Weaver's shenanigans would be cut short. Weaver tried to duck in quickly. Unfortunately for him, dust was popped, and he immediately ate an unstable concoction to the face. Just checking KSI. Now, KSI has opted to go for the Hand of Midas now. Just going to try and scar this team. They're so greedy. They really want to take this late game, and right now, I mean, that was a good exchange for Alliance, especially getting the early kill. They're slowing down Illidan a little bit, but now they're leaving him alone again. See, Kunka's actually broken off. He's in fact taking a ton. He's taking a ton of damage. Is that a bottle coming? Yes, there is a bottle coming in, so he's going to heal up now. But a rotation here from the dire supports are going to try and create some breathing room here for Illidan to get. Well, basically, they might even go for this tower. An early tower would also pretty much, I think, finish off that mech. No, not quite. He still needs to get the headrest. Still has to see a torrent go down. Doesn't connect. Their astral imprisonment there. Now they're going to move in. The SAR counter TPs are coming right in now. As you see the stun go down, there's the fireball, but the Insanity Eclipse gets dropped, and that does a ton of damage. S4 now trying to back off, but they miss with the frame break, though. S4 now still taking loads of damage there. Loads of torrent down, and they will get a counter kill there on the Outlaw Devourer. Looks like that'll work out for them in the end there, and Aki also surviving, getting his level 6 now, or level 7 rather. Macti's got the birds now. Not optimal, but at the very least they got a counter kill.
Yeah, they did. Really good positioning from Admiral Bulldog with the cogs. It meant that the OD couldn't retreat and the Bat Rider couldn't get in the position he wanted to actually dish out some damage. So, yeah, kind of 1 for 1 in that sense, but yeah, meanwhile, the bottom lane is getting a little bit more out of control for Alliance. So just this Weaver is getting bigger and bigger. They drop down a sentry, but unfortunately they don't have any real great means of jumping on top of this Weaver. I mean, most heroes don't, given how just slippery this hero can be. But in general, they go in, Grave Shield does nothing against Shikuchi, and then the IO stun, you actually have to be close enough to actually get that stun out. So in general, they really, really need something more direct. The Clockwork Hook would be the prime ability to use to jump on in there. But for right now, Weaver just right-clicking away, getting 40 CS, and that OD, as you keep on mentioning, moving in closer and closer to the mechanism, which is going to allow him to just have so much teamfight presence and just be that much more difficult to bring down.
Well, the problem with the Clockwork Hook is, I mean, they land the hook and then what? Weaver just hits his R and he's out of there. I mean, you can hook, you can cog, and then he just hits time-lapse and he gets the hell out. And the problem, I mean, it's only 1 second long, so it's really hard to pin him down with that unless he stands still for like literally 5 seconds. But now a rotation through the dire jungle. They're looking for Bulldog. They might find him, might not, as it looks like. We've also got Kunka up in the top lane as well. I'm just thinking he might be picking up drums shortly, just use those braces for that. But yeah, I mean, Weaver, I mean, Loda's done a good job to catch up. I mean, you look at his CS, he's almost on par with Weaver. He's about 20 behind earlier, so he really has caught up quite a lot. This is getting a lot better for them, and obviously he's going to farm up a lot more as well, just because of that greed. But now a bit of a clash up in the top lane. The KSI defensively sprouted, but there's the hook in, and he knocks him back. Here we go, defensive Astral Imprisonment. Now Bulldog can do nothing but eat hits there. But now the Fireball comes in, the S4 going to take the hit. Torrent goes down, we'll pick off KSI. Lasso though, it's on S4. S4 likely get dropped here, doesn't have any escape mech. He will get picked off. Meanwhile, Bulldog just opts to port out, says, okay, I can't take those odds, they can't save you, I'm gone.
Exactly.
And I mean, in the end, that's probably a better kill for Virtus.Pro. I mean, they lost Superior, I'm sure, but his... Oh wow, they lose. Who lost?
They're about to. The Shikuchi, he's going to pursue. The trees, nice jukes though. They might be able to pull him out, and this could be an extensive bait. We were talking about forcing out that time lapse, and that he definitely is in a position where they could put some more pressure on him. Visage in the mid lane here could have tried to go for a bit of a pincer, but yeah, for right now they keep the courier alive. Little Snull gonna keep running on through. I think that Loda should have saved the haste since he is up against the Weaver, but yeah, now it is safe and sound and no harm done. Nice TP immediately, a reaction from Clockwork. Did what he could in that engagement, but as soon as his cooldowns were in fact on cooldown, then he just decided to saw it off there. But they did end up putting some pressure out. They're trying to just kind of branch out into a teamfight state. They have their ultimates now coming up. The boat didn't connect, unfortunately, to easily bring down Furion, and a really, really good move by the OD by going ahead and just dropping the Prism defensively, made sure that there was no chance in the world that could have been an issue whatsoever. So, yeah, right there, Virtus.Pro showing how strong they are, and they're starting off this game exactly how they want to. 2,000 gold advantage is exactly what they need to move in and get early potential for fighting in the 5v5s, because, as we were saying before, they're very, very greedy in their lineup, but if they can transition to that mid to late, it's going to pay off. They've already got the mechanism, so they've got that utility, and the Furion has been getting at least 2 Midas cooldowns, maybe a third in there, so he has been racking up the gold very, very quickly, as well as experience.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is, like, the kill, like, it was great they got a kill on Furion, but they gave a kill away to Outlaw Devour, and then Furion, obviously, he's got the Midas, and he's got Junglist. Look, he's just gone in there, and he's immediately just racking up all that money straight away, so killing him's not really slowing him down all that much, and giving away, and more importantly, kills to OD is a big deal. It looks like NS skulking about with a Firefly, just scouting. No real danger, though. It looks like the birds are busy flying around, also doing a bit of scouting as well. Not really going to be able to do anything with them, though, right now. He isn't. Aki's still in the mid. Of course, he's micro-intensive player. Bringing them back now. Will he try and put some pressure on there? Doesn't look like it. I do like this ward here from the Dire. Nice little offensive ward that keeps an eye on what's going on in this mid lane as well, and also allows them to spot out those rotations through the jungle so they can potentially set up any ganks. And also, mostly, it's protecting Weave. It really shows him all the approach angles from mid, so he knows if someone is rotating from there almost straight away. He's in plenty of time to back out. They don't have a ward though watching the tower. I mean, that's his biggest, that's his weak point right now, the fact that someone can TP in there and jump him, so he does need to worry about that. But for the moment, it looks like it's okay. He's just going to see, I mean, he's worried now. He doesn't have vision anymore, so he's backed off. He really doesn't want to get caught out there.
Yeah, good play in general by John. I'm just trying to make sure that he stays up and at him. Once he picks up that Linken's, there's not too much that he has to worry about. Concoction and one of Visage's spells really won't connect, and therefore he's going to be in a pretty decent position to survive through whatever Alliance has to throw at him. But for right now, he has to get to that state, and it's very, very important to be cautious, especially in this lane situation. It's very common for Weaver players, especially on lower levels of play, where they just assume that they're invincible based on their cooldowns. But Alliance does have quite a few tricks up their sleeves, and just the general positioning of Johnum as a player is very, very important for him to be effective, especially now that things like Lothars are on the field. Alchemist doesn't have mana for it, but he does have the aggressive potential to just jump on in, invisible, get one right click for the bonus damage, and then have a huge concoction charging up just 1 second away. So that's going to be a really, really big deal as we see the gank initiation. But another thing on top of that, what we haven't yet seen, Relocate. Io has level 7. He is able to jump on into things. Problem is he's not too tanky for it. He only has a couple of gauntlets, a magic wand, and so he might be a little uncertain about those kinds of things.
I think they're probably just waiting also for they're also waiting for Alchemist to Shadow Blade before he really jumps, because I mean that's their primary guy that they want to jump in. Maybe they'll take Clockwork, we'll see. But the other thing is, of course, now with that concoction, I mean this is going to put a lot of pressure on Virtus.Pro, the fact that this guy could immediately jump him at any particular point. It looks like Loader, though, tethering up, gonna get stunned in there on Bat. Bat, though, still feeling pretty cheap. 4-star being picked up by Furion, that's going to be a helpful counter to the Clockwork Cogs. But it looks like Virtus.Pro here are going to be able to take this bottom tower without too much resistance, as it looks like Alliance mostly just going to decide they want to counter push mid as well as the tier 1 top as well. They're in fact going to take both those by the looks of it.
Oh, Loda going in here. Oh, getting a double stun off onto KSI, onto John. I'm going to bring them both down. Oh my gosh, that damage. Perfect timing. Maxed spirits all clustered around, just rotating in that perfect position, splashing on both of them, getting the maximum damage. And my goodness, what a combo. Now going for a relocate, tether, and charging up the concoction all at once. The coordination from these two players doing work, but unfortunately the IO spirits weren't active. They can't catch the bat when he is off the grid like this, and now with the ring back, they should not find this kill opportunity, unfortunately. But that was a really, really good move. Just getting both of them bunched up in that small little position there, getting the double stun. I mean, just acting like a Sven there, even stronger with the duration being even higher at that rank. So just pushing them when they were pushed together, getting the perfectly timed stun and the splash damage from that spirit. Really, really a great combo.
Wow, that's pretty ballsy. They're scouting for the bat. They were scouting for the Bat Rider with the Courier. I don't know how I feel about that, but anyway, Bat opted to port out anyway. Courier, in fact, taking some damage.
That's no.
Weaver there, but Weaver getting blown apart by that stun. I think his biggest fear right now is going to be like going into later in this game. Once you mentioned the Blinkins, his biggest fear I think is going to be getting accidentally cleaved to death by Kunkka later on. But now, speaking of Kunkka, S4 getting ganked and destroyed top lane. Although he does a lot of damage out of Illidan, they will manage to get the kill regardless, bringing him down. Illidan though falling very low in the middle of that fight. Batrider also now having his blink, and I think this is going to be a problem for Alliance. The fact that right now they don't have great initiation. They've got the Lothars, well, unless they can get the port gank off with a relocate, but the Lothars is nice, but teams will buy detection against that, so if you're looking for a team fight, you're going to have wards down, so you're not really going to be able to charge them with that most of the time. Whereas with the Blink Batrider, I mean, they can jump him. The Clockwork's nice, but I feel the Blink Batrider is better for singling out targets on demand than the Hook. The Hook, you've got to get the angle, you've got to manage to get the Clockwork's Cog's positioning as well. And then even if he hooks in and Cogs somebody, they just 4-staff him out of it.
Yeah. So he does have the means to pursue. He has a 4-staff of his own and has a couple of tricks up his sleeve. But in general, it does mean that he's less tanky. He's less willing to jump in all the way. And yeah, they do have to find their appropriate timings. But the one thing that I think Alliance is most concerned about is this time bomb of Virtus.Pro's entire team. Going on through the Bloodlust is a pretty great ability for the later stages of the game, the movement speed especially. The attack speed's nice, but it doesn't improve Geminate's cooldown or anything, so not the biggest deal in the world. But then we look at things like Weaver moving in towards that Linken's. He kind of went for the transitional Aquila to make sure he has the stats to stay active. But yeah, with Furion racking up some gold, with the OD getting a few kills here and there, they're in a pretty solid position. Now, as long as they can get a smoke gank or two, they're going to be able to put out this pressure. As far as detection goes on the smoke gank down bottom, they do have a single sentry for the Batrider. They're going to use it here. Jumping on in. He does have this Blink Dagger, has to drop the sentry to get the vision on top of him. Then the Ogre Magi will follow. But what is going on? The Batrider, NS, apparently not so confident about his position there. He didn't realize that the Alchemist was there. Now dropping another sentry, now going in, but he's already popped off his ultimate. He's very, very tanky right here. And coming on in, Furion is going to have to add some damage to make sure this will work on out. Weaver joining the fray. There's going to be a pretty convenient kill, but it did take a lot of resources. Not sure about EGM's relocate here. Kind of jumping on. Oh, I know what he intended, but anyways, on the mid lane, we do see Clockwork getting dropped down. That's just OD dropping the hammer, using an ultimate, a lot of right-click damage. As far as EGM's relocate, his intention there was 12 seconds later, if the Alchemist survived for that long, for him to tether to him and relocate them both out. But unfortunately, no dice. The Alchemist does indeed fall, as well as Clockwork in the mid, and this gives Virtus.Pro an amazing opportunity to take down Roshan within a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the Bloodlust. The Bloodlust on Weave obviously not great, but you throw Bloodlust, look at this right now on OD. It's pretty much once he gets that maxed out, that Bloodlust maxed out, that is pretty much a free Hyperstone on Outwards to Barrow. And that Outwards to Barrow's build generally doesn't lead him to getting a whole lot of attack speed, so it's more he gets big right clicks. And right now he's hitting for about 250-ish per swing, and about 100 of that is pure damage, completely unmitigated by the armor and stuff. So, I mean, you throw on that Bloodlust, that is an insane amount of damage he's going to spit out. I mean, he's already down to the 0.7, and when you're hitting for 300, 250, 300 a hit, that's pretty damn insane.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look at Loader, Loader right now, when he's raged up, probably hitting about 0.6. He's going to be hitting one attack every 0.6 per second, but the difference is he's only doing about 100, 120 a hit. That's a massive, massive difference.
No, unfortunately not picking off a familiar. Illidan kind of poked and prodded at every one of them, but Ake is able to keep them both alive here. But yeah, they're just kind of playing Illidan as the primary carry in this situation. Yes, he landed the mid, but he is getting big. He's almost at level 16. And, of course, he is benefiting so much, as you mentioned, from the Bloodlust. And now from the Aegis Mech, he is just so survivable as well. So his general weakness is going to be defensive proportions, and OD has kind of made up for that quite a bit with these different things he set himself up for item-wise. So he's in a great position to be mobile, be active, and, of course, just based on what kind of hero he is, he can dish out so much damage. So this is going to be worse and worse for Alliance as time goes by. And it's not like he can pick up a pipe or an armor item to deal with magic or physical damage. This guy does pure damage with the Arcane Orb, and it is going to be monstrous when he can just focus somebody down very particularly.
Yeah, look at the hits right now. He's doing 150 bonus damage from the Arcane Orb. He's already hitting for nearly 300 damage a swing when he's got full mana up. That is nuts, absolutely nuts. 300 damage a hit, and he's getting what to 0.69, 0.61 every time he gets bloodlusted. And then of course, it gives him the mobility too. I mean, the other big deal, of course, is he's not that he's not that long range, so it's kind of difficult to get where you need to be. But with Bloodlust, you move so damn quick. And Bloodlust drums, you can just get to wherever you need to be. And now it looks like they might take a jump here on Loader. Loader may be in a struggle. I think they might actually know they're actually going for Loader. However, blinks into the tether. That was a misplay from NS there.
Unfortunately. There's not too many ways to get in melee range very easily to 100% avoid the tether, but you have to be precise about it. They had plenty of time to set up. It wasn't like it was a gut reaction tether, and that was a mistake. So, unfortunate. But I don't know if they wanted to take that fight anyways. I mean, Alchemist is pretty big. They only had 2 guys on the front lines, and all of Alliance were right nearby. So, yeah, it would have been a pretty difficult position for them to be in. So instead, they're just going to spread out and do what they do best, which is farm, farm, farm. Furia in the jungle, going to be able to max out to 16. Actually, let's just look at levels in general. We see 2 level 15 heroes. The Midas helping out Prophet to get to his higher levels very, very quickly, and the solo mid success for the OD. We do see up on top, Weaver taking a lot of damage. The hookshot will get another stun out, but that time-lapse should come on through despite some really, really good cog action. But here comes the dust. He cannot ulti on out of it, and so here should be the sufficient damage to finish him off here. Yeah, good gank. Starting it off, Loda just getting such a powerful stun, forced out that ultimate, and as soon as it was blown, especially with that cog positioning, there wasn't any hope for Weaver whatsoever. So, yeah, that is going to set him up for a core hero kill, but it's not stopping Virtus.Pro. They are undeterred as they move in towards this bottom tier 1 tower. Now, the hard right-click damage from Illidan doesn't translate well against towers. He's not the Outworld Demolisher anymore. He's the Devourer, and so he is not doing too much as far as against structures. But when it comes down to these heroes, these familiars as well, getting a lot of damage on in. So they are going to be falling back. They want to be falling back, but Batrider is actually going to get X'd. Gets torrented. Here's a Force Staff, a Cogs. There goes the bow going across. Kunkka's roam on everybody here. Loda getting stunned. He does no damage, but NS will get nuked down quickly by the Visage coming on in. Bulldog just going to pop off his ultimate on Ogre Magi himself. There is going to be the hammer dropping down, though. KSI will pick up the kill on the Clockwork, but may trade for it with his life. So much damage coming on through, but no detection. He's going to try to TP right in front of their faces, but the sentry's down. The right clicks are there. They get the kill, and with this X, they'll bring down Illidan as well. He'll try to survive as best he can. Aegis and the Astral Imprisonment, he can add a few seconds to his lifespan, but not much longer than that. So, unfortunate that Loda stunned himself. That was an amazing stun that could have gone the other direction, but didn't cost them much at all. Alliance take that fight away.
Yeah, I mean, right now the problem here for Virtus.Pro is their team fight is weak. Their team fight is really, really weak in comparison to Alliance's. They don't have those big CCs, they don't have Hookshot, they don't have Cogs, they don't have the Torrent. All of these lockdown spells are really, really tearing them apart. Like right now, what they really need, they don't want to try and fight these fights until they get some hexes. They need some ability to stop these heroes continuously interrupting them with stuns. I mean, that fight, like you said, Loda stunned himself. Like, he didn't get his stun off. So, I mean, that's a pretty big problem for them. So, I think right now, Virtus.Pro, they're completely reliant on Lasso, as well as Ogre Magi's Fireball set. I mean, he's not a lot of stun to go around. And considering, like, Batrider, he was one of the first things that got blown to pieces. Like, he got targeted really quick, he got hit by the Torrent, he got set up, he didn't really get to where he wanted to be. It looks like he's going to try and take a run on S5. I don't really know why he should be doing that, because it's not going to work out for him. Yep. Although, if Furion shows up, maybe. Yep. But until they actually get the hexes up, or at least actually even BKBs might be what the answer as well, but I feel like the hexes are what they need to control these fights. Because, I mean, they're trying to fight against tethers and all these extra stuns, which are completely shutting them down and just buying time for Kunkka to get out these cleaves, because those cleaves are really, really brutal. I mean, obviously Arcane Orb hurts, but that's the problem with Outworld Devourer. Like, he doesn't really have any way to heal back up in the middle of the fight, apart from the mech. So once the mech's gone, it's pretty easy to just continually damage him down. Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting scenario here, because the VP will get stronger and stronger as they go by, but I really don't think they can take a 5v5 until they get a Sheepstick up on OD. Right now he's going for BKB, a wise choice given what he's up against, but in general he's going to have to get that Scythe eventually, for not only for the base stats, but also for that Disable up against either Kunkka or Alchemist, who are less common to pick up a Black King Bar themselves, since they are just so very tanky innately. But anyways, they really need to find pickoffs and farm, and that's what they've been doing to some extent. That's what NS keeps on trying to do, but it seems like today is not his day to go up against Shadowblades. Like, multiple times over, he has been thwarted over and over by that Lothars and the sentries. He needs to be a little bit more active on that, but of course he is roaming out by himself. There's not much he can do, even if he does get full vision on them. So one way or another, they're just trying to buy space, and that's what he's accomplishing, not getting punished too hard. And they have pushed him pretty aggressively. All tier 1s have fallen. I guess you could say the same thing for Alliance against them. But I would actually like to highlight real quick on Alliance's item pickups real quick. We see a Ghost Scepter up on IO, some great base stats, as well as the opportunity to Ethereal through the right clicks coming in from the OD, as well as the Weaver. But really interesting pickup from the Clockwork is this Talisman Evasion. He has some decent agi gain now, so he is able to tank up physical damage in general, but adding in this Evasion, I don't think the effective HP really kicks in for quite some time. Like, as far as if you do the math on it, Talisman Evasion, cost per value, you want a lot more raw HP. You want at least 2,000 effective HP in order to make sure that's worth your while. We do see down on bottom, big relocate coming out. Should be a pick off on Ogre Magi at the very least, but it looks like VP want to make a fight of it coming on through. They do so much damage out, trying to finish off EGM, but he is going to be able to relocate away in just a second. The Force Staff not closing distance. Instead, it's going to be KSI on the run here. Of course, Weaver, with his Lincolns on cooldown, is just going to run in and out, trying to do some damage to Ake, but he is in a safe enough position to get on out of here with the Kunkka's Rum decaying over time. He is dropping low, but not into any danger. So right now, a fight that Virtus.Pro just didn't want to take, and unfortunately for them, X marks the spot, forcing them to it.
Yeah, there we go. Looks like the BKB. Kunkka did, in fact, go for a BKB straight up. Decided to grab that straight away instead of going for damage, which, I mean, I don't disagree with it entirely. It is going to prevent him from just getting multi-cast in the middle of a fight. But to mention, on the clock, I think he might have just bought that when he was dying during the previous fight down by the tower where he was being chased down by Furion. I think he might have just bought it up straight away as he was about to get picked off there, because Furion was diving against him, which ended up getting Furion killed as well. But anyway... Now, Ogre Magi, though, has picked up a staff of his own. Kind of expected to see that turn to a 4-staff a little bit later, just to help them out with their mobility. And, of course, having multiple 4-staffs against Clockwork, always a good thing. Or even just pushing, even just, it's just a great all-round utility item.
Yeah, or, when you're playing the all-skill hero, you gotta go for the Dagon, right? Just jump on in, lasers everywhere.
Why not? Why not? I mean, the burst damage, it's you can always argue for it if you want to try and burst down something that's particularly annoying. I mean, if you're trying to just pick off Wisp, just kill him straight away. I mean, if he goes Ethereal and then you hit him with a fireball and a Dagon, suddenly he's gone. And then you're losing a lot of power from the Alchemist.
Yep.
Speaking of which, Alchemist has picked up an Assault. I mean, this is something that's really going to affect them as well. The fact that they've got all this negative armor. Now, this is going to hurt OD. I mean, he might even be forced to pick up. He might even be forced to pick up Ashivas earlier than he wants as well. Just because you've got the negative arm from Medallion. This is just carrying that. You've got the spray and then the aura as well from Assault Cuirass. That's a lot of negative armor. Pretty much brings Outlaw Devourer down to base armor, so he'll be taking effectively pure damage from auto attacks. And when basically when you're getting ding by Alchemist, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
and suddenly all that damage adds up really quickly.
Yeah, I do like the BKBs here. Like I said, Kunkka and Alchemist aren't a shoe-in to pick him up, but it's perfect in this scenario. Not just the Ogre, and not just the general damage coming in from Wrath of Nature, stuff like that. It's really a hard counter to OD. Like, OD, despite being a carry-esque hero, is one of the few that can be completely just shut down by a Black King Bar, by the opponent being immune to magic, and that's a weakness that the Alliance are willing to exploit here. They're saying, okay, Arcane Orb, not going to do damage, they're not going to worry about the Sanity's Eclipse, and when the Scythe of Vice comes on through, they don't have to worry about that Hex. So we are going to see this fight break on down. End's going to get dropped almost immediately. Nice prison to keep him up for now, but they're on the run. They fight this fight defensively. Alchemist taking a lot of hits here, but he's still up and kicking, and man, he's doing a lot of damage. Weaver popping off the ultimate just to stay alive here. They are going to be able to get out for the most part, but it has not been a good fight for them. Nice flame break, forcing back Alliance, and Io is on pretty low HP. Has to watch himself here. OD popping off his BKB, going up against Ake here. He finishes him off, but the Soul Summoning goes on through to finish off Magi with the help of S4. Going on through. They are going to get the sheep off on Io, but it is another support pickoff. So 2 for 1 in terms of supports. They're looking for one more. S4 Shadow Blading on away. And as far as detection goes, it looks like, despite this 4-staff Shadow Blade action, they shouldn't be able to pick him off if he just TPs away here.
Yeah, there we go. Fortunately for him, NS with his flying vision went the opposite way, allowing the Duke to succeed. And one of the big things that fight as well, Loda blew his stun. He blew it on the Weaver, who had Lincolns up, just completely nullified that. Yeah, so Cocktail just went to complete waste there. But it looks like Virtus.Pro, they're going to snag a free Roshan now. They've got the 2 supports down. Should be able to clean that off fairly quickly. And yeah, now that those hexes are kicking in, like, that was a much better fight for them. The fact that they have just 1 hex now. In fact, the sooner OD gets his up as well, that's really going to turn to a nasty thing. Loda, though, living dangerously, might actually try and jump in here. Ogre Magi, they're going to spot him out, throws down the concoction, and he will throw it in there, tries to snipe Roshan. Although, will they do it? The Aegis goes down. Radiant. Roshan gets picked off by the Radiant. Now, Illidan, though, doesn't have room to pick up, though, does actually know. The Aegis gets picked up by Clockwork. They snipe and snatch. Alliance going big here, but will this cost them a lot of damage here, though? That looks like it's going to work out for them. They snipe, they snatch, they pick off the Ogre Magi as well. This works out brilliantly for them, and they're going to try and pick off KSI as well. There we go, Soul Assumption. Nice prison, though. And Boat is going to whip, though, because the birds are ready. They stomp him there, ground and pound. And looks like a second bird, though, going to do a ton of damage. And there's the ward as well, picking off KSI. Loda, though, taking a ton of damage. Weaver still in there. Soul Assumption picks up Batrider. And we've already lost 3 heroes now, all for a Clockwork. Will they get a return kill? They will. They'll pick off the Visage. And now Weaver also backing out there. But definitely, Alliance, the big plays there.
Yeah.
Making a fool out of Virtus.Pro. My God, I didn't think they could do that. I thought it was a free row shot.
They shouldn't have. Like, they shouldn't have been able to do that. Right there, OD got a full prison off on the clockwork. I mean, I know battery assault ticks after the fact, but you can drop a TP scroll on the ground despite battery assault. So yes, the BA was ticking on him. He was getting mini-stunned, but that shouldn't have disrupted him picking up the Aegis. That was just ridiculous. They jumped in. They didn't punish the Alchemist. The clockwork jumps. He gets the kill, last hit, on Roche. They get the Radiant experience and gold for their team, and then they pick up the Aegis on top of it. That's just ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Alliance, I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw that. A little bit hilarious plays by Virtus.Pro, but in general, just Alliance taking this game away right now. I mean, the experience is back in their favor, jumping up, moving in towards 7,500, and we're going to be seeing that taking its toll very, very quickly in these next fights. I mean, Kunkka doing a lot of damage now. He actually has a Crystallis on the Courier, so just adding more. And I remember Alchemist had a lot of cash. Is he going to go for... he went for the BKB outright. I'm curious to see if he's going to go for the Abyssal next, or just kind of stick on with that whole tanky feel of going for the AC plus BKB and just go on the front line with some raw HP. Either way, in this position here, just some really, really interesting Dota.
And Ira picks up a gem. This is really going to help him out with locking down Piron. It's going to make it it's going to make it impossible for him now to split push, just because every time he goes to split push, it'll be Ira jumping on him with somebody, and they'll have the gem. And his defense there with the Shadow Blade is not going to mean squat. Also, it's going to help out with the map control as well. They get a lot of map control here. It's really going to cut into Virtus.Pro's ability to farm. And looks like Weaver, though. Looks like he's possibly going for... Actually, might be a Deso. He's going for it, although if that was going to be a BKB, I think he would have just picked up the Ogre Club straight away, because he still is getting picked off early. Although, speaking of pickoffs, Io getting blown to pieces there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, came too close to a ward and got spotted up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, right now, like, the cleaves are causing massive damage to him. He's only got 1,300 health. A good cleave that goes in does so much damage to him, and especially now the Crystallis is up and running.
Yeah. Interesting position from KSI. I think he's really worried about a Clockwork initiation with maybe like one person smoked up nearby. He is a very vulnerable hero with the state. The Force Staff helps out some, the Scythe of Ice and Shadow Blade as well, but right now he's just willing to stay hidden, wait, counter push, and go in with the teleport. Doesn't mean they won't have his ultimate available here, and oh my gosh, they go in for the Torrent. They go in for the Concoction. They are going to bring down Illidan right here. Great hook shot, great start off from them. The Torrent landing without any aid at all is what set this up here, and oh, they get the cleave too. S4 with the double damage. He gets it on the creeps. They bring down the Weaver. Both core heroes down, and Virtus.Pro runs for the hills. Oh, goodness. They had no place being here. They had no Nature's Prophet ultimate. They were pushing tier 2 when they were up against Aegis, and they... Oh, wait, no, of course, Clockwork used the Aegis already, but they didn't have the Aegis themselves, and in general, they just don't have the means to make that work for them. So, Alliance getting thrown a bone, and they just demolished them.
Was that an X marks a spot, Torrent, or was it?
I might have been a little bit late on the camera, but I thought it was just a 100% blind Torrent, and if that's the case, S4 just starting things off perfectly for them.
Well, not just that. I mean, obviously a great Torrent, but if that was a blind Torrent, I really question what the hell was Illidan doing up the front, like that close to the tower by himself. Like, generally speaking, throwing your carry, like hard carry up the front like that, is really hard for him to just get focused fight, especially get stuff like Clockwork. And, I mean, the other thing, I think he was probably not too worried about X marks a spot, because obviously he can dodge that with the Black King, but that's probably why, like, if it wasn't an X marks the spot one, because you throw an X marks the spot one, and then suddenly he knows, and if he wants to, he can BKB out. Naturally, though, I mean, using a BKB charge is a sort of a win for you, but if you're pushing a tower, then you want to force the fight, you want him to kill, then obviously you don't want to alert him to the fact. So,
exactly.
That said, I really question why he was that far up the front. Like, that's really not where they should be putting... Because, I mean, that's the linchpin hero. He's the one they're relying to do all the damage.
Yeah.
Weaver, right now, doesn't have the damage. He's got decent survivability, but he does not hit that hard. And Furion as well. Like, he's hitting okay, but he's not on par with Loader at the moment.
Yeah, it's just no comparison right now. That was not good for them at all, and now Virtus.Pro are kind of treading water. If it was X marks the spot, of course, like you said, he would have BKB'd. So that was just pretty much us for knowing, hey, Illidan might not move, and if he doesn't, we have all the opportunity in the world to capitalize on it. So that he didn't get a chance to use his BKB, they just completely destroyed him, and that is putting themselves in a great position to take this game away. It looks like Alchemist is only like 700 gold away from his Abyssal Blade if he does decide to go for it. He's going to put pressure on the tower real quick here. X marks, going to force out the BKB from Illidan, or is he going to jump back? He gets taunted. Illidan gets forced out away. He might be able to survive since the familiars did not connect with their stone forms, but yeah, they are just in such a dangerous position here. Grabbing out a sentry, popping off the Firefly. Batrider maybe wants to go in, but can be punished very, very readily as he doesn't even have his Force Staff yet, so can't really go in and out as he'd prefer to. KSI providing some counter push down on bottom, split pushing it away, but right now Virtus.Pro. Wait, is that a... Okay, wrong... Yeah, Mechanism going to be coming up for IO in a little bit. EGM is going to be making his way that direction, but right now I think they're just happy with what they've already gotten. Is that a... Okay, no relocate just yet. But one thing that came into play was something I expected a while back, but Admiral Bullock finally finding the farm to finish off this Heaven's Halberd. It's actually going to be a really big deal. It's going to be able to disarm the OD or the Weaver and make sure that they don't have the right-click damage that they need to make sure this fight. So yeah, the fight will start off strong. They'll be able to pop off the Shivas and the Sandy's Eclipse, things like that. The nukes will come on through, but it's not enough right now to bring down Alliance, especially once EGM has a mech. And from there, the right-clicks not being able to follow because of the disarm is going to be very, very difficult for them. So again, they're still kind of playing a little bit of pick-off Dota, and not exactly what they want to. Either way, Loda right now, Shadow Bladed on up. The smoke is going to expire, but he might not see this coming. He is revealed. They're going to jump on in. They're going to be able to pick him off. They go for the lasso. They go for all these stuns in the world, and they do bring him down. So Alchemist does technically have buyback, doesn't want to exhaust it, since he is moving in towards that Abyssal. Actually has it, if he can just wait this 70-second period out.
I'm just looking at this. I'm looking at OD's items. It looks like he was indeed, though. The negative armor spam has actually forced him to buy up into a Shiva's. I mean, that's completely and utterly delayed any chance of a Hex on him, and I think that's a pretty critical point. I mean, obviously Shiva's is nice, but a Hex is better in my opinion. You really want to have that lockdown, because I mean that's one of their big weak points right now is they have very little control in the team. But they can spit out the damage like no tomorrow, but they can't lock the people down and prevent the incoming damage with disables as easily as they'd like to. And actually, one thing I want to ask: do you have any idea if you can cast Orb through Heaven's Halberd through the disarm?
No, it's not like Ethereal. Ghost Scepter, it just makes it so that... Well, actually, you make a decent point, because that is technically still a spell cast. Honestly, that might be something that I would have to test out further, but there is a possibility that they're just going to use the Halberd on Weaver after the linkage is popped off. But actually, going to get some vision on S4. He's going to Shadow Blade away, though. But yeah, that's actually a really good question, because when he's Ghost Sceptered, he generally isn't able to. He's only able to cast spells. But the disarm might be a different mechanic. I'm not exactly sure. Of course, it is a newer item in Dota 1, so I can't just really reference Dota 1 mechanics as I usually do when it comes down to those item mechanical interactions. But either way, for right now, they are going to be able to shut down some physical damage, but yeah, it's a very good point. I'm not sure if OD actually comes into play. We're going to see this team fight break out, though. Ultimate hitting off onto 2. Clockwork is a great cogs off. There's so much damage coming to Weaver. He has already blown his ultimate, so he just has to retreat. The right clicks will come out very rapidly on OD. Already having used the Shivas, getting bashed on up. They will, however, be able to get the prison off. Here comes that Torrent going across. Just the right clicks to finish off Ogre Magi. He's actually just playing the Sacrificial Lamb. S4 taking a lot of hits from the Weaver, but Weaver, in fact, going to have to go on the run. Lincoln did come back off cooldown, so he is going to be able to survive. S4 getting blocked out by his own cogs, but luckily they still snag the kill on that OD. Batrider blinking away to end this team fight, but still nothing looking good for VP as they lose 3 very important heroes, and Alliance only loses really the Kunkka and the Clockwork, who has been jumping into the fight very aggressively every single time this game.
Yeah, the forced buyback's never a good sign there. Once the OD has to force that money into a buyback, I mean, just delaying that Hex further and further and further. And the KSI, though, is opted to go into the enemy jungle, just going to farm up in there quickly, just using his time quite wisely, making sure he's getting as much cash as possible. Io, though, just finishes up the mech as well. Obviously going to make whoever he's tethering to, probably Loda, way more survivable. And Loda now he's sitting, I think this is something we probably overlooked, is the fact that Loda is camping nearly 6,000 gold. He is really stinking rich at this point in time, and he can just, I mean, if he wanted to, he could buy up just about anything he wants to, so he's got so much cash in there.
Yeah.
So it looks like they are going to try and Roshan again, though. Not going to, oh, I don't know about that. Okay, this has got to be bait. I mean, there's no real way that he would force up his way down into there.
Well, there is a rocket flare in the
I
pit.
don't think they could see the flare. I don't think they could see the flare, but yeah, they're going to actually get picked off here potentially. Now the Familiar's going to come in, going to go for the snipe once again. There's the Bloodlust, and now Loader comes in, BKB's up, and a hook in there from Admiral Bulldog. Going to force Illidan to get the hell out, and now the counter kill there. Roshan being picked off by Alliance again. Lasso though on Aki. Aki getting blown apart, but the stuns come through from the tether. Illidan now going to prison himself to try and get himself clear. Is that, I think, a rod of Atos? Something slowed him down massively there, as it looks like they will pick off Illidan once again. That was a pretty damn big slow. What was that?
I actually didn't catch that one there.
That might have just been a mix of the. That might have just been a mix of the ignite as well as the slow there from Batrider. He was really crippled though, speed-wise. Now throws down the stun though. Actually going to get blocked though by Lincoln's though. It doesn't look like it's going to help though. The bash comes out. Weaver though has to time lapse, and that will do what he needs. Loader though about to get picked off. Has the Aegis though. Cleans up the Ogre Magi, and now Weaver being forced to back the hell off.
Yeah. It seemed like Alchemist was just kind of in there on his own, man-moding it up, and had no real hope to bring anybody down, especially since Weaver did have that ultimate. But as for coming in and getting a double kill with a really, really nice Torrent boat, so he jumps on in, he packs the punch with that Daedalus, and yeah, now they're in just such a great position here. Again, you're saying at Virtus.Pro, going for that, it's really, really important to consider whether or not they knew about that rocket flare, because going in like that was a mistake. The clockwork buyback, although it was belated, it was about halfway through his death timer, was in direct response to that Roche respawning. So they got in, they took what they wanted. They got the Aegis second life on Alchemist, and now they can just go in for this tier 3 here. Look at it drop so very, very rapidly with that Assault Cuirass, negative armor, and of course they just have so much right-click damage. So going on through, OD will be respawning, but the melee racks have most definitely fallen.
You know, I was pretty sure he should have. I mean, he should have heard the flare go off, which is the thing I was questioning about. But it looks like, oh no, KSI. Oh, that's not what you want to walk into. So it looks like he will get picked off here. As Wisp going to provide vision with the. Well, he should be providing vision. Never mind. There we go. They find him there and pick him off very, very easily. And now the bash is coming down on Illidan. Illidan taking a ton of damage to multicast. Only a times 2. Boat comes in. Gonna whiff though. Hands out Coco's rum. Loader now being healed up the mech. Stains Clips gets dropped down. But there we go. Cocktail comes out. Smashes poor old Batrider. And they will pick off Illidan once again. Wow. Loader actually falling really low. Pops the rage on. Will heal up. He's got the Abyssal Blade as well now, doing a ton of damage. And that lockdown is just so brutal for OD to try and deal with. Now they have the superior magic stuns as well, going right through his BKB. And in fact, his BKB is probably down to a 4-second now, I think. 5-second, getting close.
So much great support for Loader there. They used the tether mechanism, which is 625 healing. On top of that, they had the Kunkka's Rum, as you mentioned, keeping him alive. He dropped down to that non-fatal 1 HP, and then they kept on healing him up with Urn and his own ultimate. So they were able to just take that fight away, as they have been taking all these fights away, and just impressively following this one through. Alliance take this away, 46 minutes, 33-21. Good game, well played, and Virtus.Pro taps out. So very, very interesting match to see these guys going at it, and I like Virtus.Pro's lineup. It definitely was something different, and you always got to play something different against Alliance, because they pretty much shown that they're the most dominant team as far as everything that's in the old meta, and you have to make adjustments, you have to make transitions. But unfortunately, they did have a stand-in. They weren't playing at their full strength, and in this case, even though they did make it to 46 minutes, I would say that it's definitely the multiple Roshan mishaps that did them in. So in the end, Virtus.Pro, they do not take this one away. They will get eliminated very, very early, but they do have a couple of points to fall back on. So they do have already some points from the previous cups, and that's going to have to rest on their laurels for that one, because they are out of today's cup. But meanwhile, Alliance will be advancing on forward. We're going to be seeing who they're going to be up against. Looking over at this brackets, we do see that Fnatic and Roxas is going to be our next match, and whoever wins that will be facing Alliance in the semifinals. Thank you guys so much for tuning on into the Premier League Season 5 Mjolnir Cup. This has been Blaze and Triumph, and we've had a great pleasure casting this game up for you. Do you have any other thoughts on the game before we proceed on with the next one, Triumph?
I mean, actually, you didn't get to catch this, but Medved last week actually plays a stand, and he was absolutely on fire. So I don't think it's a stand. I think right now it was just drafting. I think just needed more cowbell. They needed more stun. If they had a bit more stun in there, they would have been a lot better off. It just came down to the fact that with the crowd control that Alliance had, they could just find the targets and say, you know what, Outward Destroy, you need to die. You need to die, and we just lock you down and completely blow you apart. It took them a little while to get rolling. I mean, the early game was kind of off to a rocky start. Obviously, before they got everything up and running, and the tri-lane didn't go so well for Loader initially, but as soon as they forced that rotation and the supports had to go to mid to try and cause some, help with the pressure being applied to OD, with Clockwork coming down to annoy him. As soon as they rotated, Loda's farm immediately shot up and he got on par and then got ahead of Weaver. And I think that was the tipping point. Once Loda got room to farm, once the supports had to get mobile, the fact that Furion could never really reach his full potential either, never really put the pressure that he wanted to on Alliance's line. And that way, because he couldn't get mobile, because they were forced to 5-man, their lineup just wasn't built for it. They tried to go into those early 5-mans and got shut down and just translated into the late game there.
Exactly. So there we do see Virtus.Pro. They did what they could, and I think they did the right item build-ups. They had the timing that they wanted to really make something happen, but their fights really weren't on point, and in general, the level advantage, of course, very visibly in favor of Alliance. Just a lot of little factors coming into play, but Alliance going to be the victors walking away from this one here. So gradual advantage going further and further ahead, and now Alliance are going to be moving on into that 3rd and 4th, which guarantees them at least some points in the Cup, and we'll be seeing them in approximately 1 hour. But let's go ahead and get this next game started. It's going to be Fnatic versus Roxka, so that should be an interesting matchup there.